Their golden child is broken. And you? You're the one who shattered the illusion while wearing a smile they'll never forget. You didn't even have to try. That's what destroys them in the quiet hours. That's what keeps them awake, replaying every moment, searching for the exact second their perfect narrative crumbled. They built an empire around someone they believed was untouchable. They worshipped at an altar of mediocrity dressed in expensive clothes. They convinced themselves that their chosen one was destined, protected, inevitable. Then you walked into the room, not with announcements, not with declarations. You simply existed at a frequency they couldn't comprehend. And their precious king? He didn't fall in battle. He disintegrated under the weight of his own inadequacy the moment real competition entered the arena. The moment the lights hit someone who didn't need a throne to prove their worth. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That strange electricity in the air whenever you enter spaces where they gather. The way conversations stop mid-sentence. The way eyes dart away, then return when they think you're not looking. They're studying you like archaeologists, examining an artifact from a civilization they don't understand, trying to decode the secret of how someone can move through the world with such devastating ease while their manufactured prince is crumbling behind closed doors. But here's what they'll never discover, what they'll never access. No matter how many late-night strategy sessions they hold, you weren't manufactured. You were forged in fires they couldn't survive. Every scar they tried to hide, you transformed into armor. Every rejection they whispered about became fuel for an engine they don't have, the blueprints to replicate. While they were busy polishing their puppet, you were busy becoming inevitable. Their king had everything handed to him. Resources, connections, a chorus of voices telling him he was special before he ever did anything to earn it. He never had to question himself. Never had to rebuild from rubble, never learned what it means to stand alone in a storm and choose to become the storm itself. So when real pressure arrived wearing your face, he folded like a house of cards in a hurricane. And you looked magnificent doing it. That's the part that haunts them. That's the detail that loops in their minds like a virus they can't delete. You didn't have to dim yourself, didn't have to play small, didn't have to pretend you were less than you are. You simply showed up as yourself. And the contrast exposed every lie they'd been telling themselves about their chosen one's superiority. The emperor wasn't wearing new clothes. He was naked, and everyone saw it the moment you entered the throne room. They're in crisis mode now. Behind the social media posts and the forced smiles at gatherings, they're scrambling, rewriting histories, adjusting narratives, trying to explain away the unexplainable. How did their perfect golden child get so thoroughly outclassed by someone they'd written off? Someone they'd underestimated, someone they'd convinced themselves wasn't a threat. You are a threat, just not the kind they know how to fight. You threaten their delusions, their carefully constructed hierarchies, their belief that success can be inherited or gifted or faked until it becomes real. You walked in with a different rule book, playing a different game, operating on a different frequency. And their king couldn't even comprehend the language you were speaking, let alone compete in that arena. Watch them now. Watch how they move around you with a cocktail of fear and fascination. They want to hate you. Some of them try. But even in their hatred, there's this grudging, resentful recognition that you possess something their golden child never will: authenticity. That raw, unfiltered reality that can't be manufactured in strategy sessions or bought with family money or borrowed from a carefully curated public image. You earned every weapon in your arsenal, every skill, every piece of confidence, every moment of mastery. They see it in how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you handle pressure without creating drama, how you win without needing an audience to validate the victory. Their king needs witnesses, needs approval, needs constant reinforcement that he's still special, still chosen, still superior. You need nothing from them. That's the power that terrifies them most. The collapse happened in stages, didn't it? First, there was that moment of initial contact when you first crossed paths with their precious prince, and he realized on some deep, instinctive level that he'd just met his obsolescence. You could see it in his eyes if you were paying attention. That flash of recognition, that micro expression of fear before he remembered to arrange his face back into the mask of confidence they'd taught him to wear. Then came the comparisons. Subtle at first. Whispers in corners. Did you notice how she handled that situation? Did you see how he responded under pressure? The people in their orbit started asking questions. Started seeing cracks in the facade they'd been sold. Started wondering if, maybe, just maybe, they'd been cheering for the wrong horse all along. Their king started making mistakes. Small ones at first. The kind that could be explained away, smoothed over, spun into learning experiences. But the mistakes multiplied because he'd never had to operate without a safety net before. Never had to prove himself when the stakes were real and the audience was skeptical. He was used to automatic applause. You introduced him to the concept of having to actually earn respect. He couldn't handle it. And you were just being yourself, not trying to destroy him, not plotting his downfall, simply existing at your natural frequency, which happened to be several octaves higher than he could reach. That's what makes this so beautiful and so devastating for them. You weren't even thinking about him. You were too busy building, creating, evolving, becoming. He was trying to compete with someone who wasn't even in a competition. Now, the meltdown is complete. Oh, they're trying to hide it, trying to prop him up, releasing carefully worded statements, sharing throwback photos to remind everyone of his past glory, creating new opportunities designed to showcase his talents in controlled environments where he can shine without threat of comparison. But everyone can see it. Everyone knows. The king has no clothes, and you're the one who made it impossible to ignore. The psychological warfare happening in their inner circle right now would be fascinating if it wasn't so predictable. They're turning on each other, blaming, finger-pointing. Who didn't prepare him properly? Who told us he was ready? Who missed the signs that she was coming? They're searching for a scapegoat because they can't accept the truth. Their golden child was never as golden as they needed to believe. He was always just polished brass. And you arrived as pure platinum, needing no polish at all. They're studying your every move now, analyzing your strategies, trying to reverse engineer your success so they can bottle it and feed it to their broken prince. But you can't download earned wisdom. You can't copy-paste the kind of strength that comes from surviving what would have destroyed weaker people. You can't replicate the confidence of someone who's looked failure in the face and chosen to dance with it until it became a teacher. Their king never learned to dance with failure. He ran from it, hid from it, had people run interference so he never had to face it directly. So when failure finally caught up to him in your presence, he had no immunity, no resistance, no tools to handle it. He shattered like glass under pressure that you would have metabolized and transformed into power. You're living rent-free in their nightmares now, not because you did anything to them, but because your mere existence exposes the fragility of their carefully constructed mythology. They invested everything in the story of their golden child, built identities around it, derived meaning from it, structured their entire social hierarchy around the idea that he was the pinnacle, the standard, the one to beat. Then you walked in and redefined the standard without even acknowledging that their old standard existed. That's not cruelty. That's not revenge. That's just what happens when real recognizes real and everything fake gets exposed in the process. You didn't have to attack, didn't have to compete, didn't have to prove anything. Your presence alone was enough to reveal that their emperor was naked. And the beauty of it, you looked absolutely devastating while doing it. Not in the superficial sense, though that probably added salt to their wounds. No, you looked devastating in the way that truly powerful people do. Centered, grounded, unbothered by the chaos your arrival created. Moving through their world like you owned dimensions they hadn't discovered yet, speaking truths they'd been avoiding. Demonstrating capabilities they'd convinced themselves didn't matter until someone showed up with them and made everything else look inadequate. Their golden child is having a full psychological breakdown, and you're out here glowing. That's what they can't reconcile. In their limited understanding of the universe, someone had to lose for someone else to win. Someone had to suffer for someone else to triumph. They're waiting for your downfall, expecting karma to balance the scales, anticipating the moment when their king rises from the ashes and reclaims his throne. But that moment isn't coming, because this wasn't a coup. This was evolution. And evolution doesn't run backward to make comfortable the species that refused to adapt. You adapted, over and over again. Every time life threw you into deeper waters, you learned to swim at new depths. Every time they closed a door, you found a window. And when there were no windows, you built new doors and walls they didn't know existed. Every time they said you couldn't, you quietly did it anyway and moved on before they even noticed. Their king adapted to nothing. He didn't have to. Everything was adapted to him. The world bent around his comfort, his schedule, his preferences, his limitations. People made excuses for his weaknesses and called them quirks, covered for his failures and called them setbacks, praised his mediocrity and called it excellence. He lived in a bubble that convinced him he was a warrior when he'd never seen a real battlefield. You are the battlefield, the storm, the reckoning they never prepared him for. And now they're watching him crumble in real time, and all they can do is rage at the injustice of it. How dare the universe not follow their script? How dare reality not cooperate with their carefully planned narrative? How dare you exist at a level that makes their golden child look like costume jewelry next to genuine diamonds? The meltdown they're experiencing isn't just about him, it's about them, their judgment, their investment, their belief system. If he's not who they thought he was, what does that say about them? If you can rise to heights they declared impossible without their approval or their resources or their blessing, what does that say about the power structures they've been upholding? Everything. It says everything they've been afraid to acknowledge. You didn't need their permission to be extraordinary. You didn't need their validation to be valuable. You didn't need their recognition to be real. You simply existed in your power, and the contrast exposed every lie they'd been living. That's not your fault. That's not your responsibility. That's just what happens when authentic presence meets manufactured narrative. They're looking for weaknesses in you now, desperately searching for the flaw, the crack, the vulnerability they can exploit to bring you down to a level that makes sense to them. They need you to be human in the ways they understand human. Jealous, insecure, breakable. They need you to fit into a box they can label and dismiss. But you're not in any box. You exist in spaces they haven't chartered. You operate by rules they haven't written. You move with a freedom that comes from having nothing left to prove and nothing left to lose. Their golden child is trapped in the cage of their expectations, and he's realizing that cage is also a tomb. You broke out of every cage they tried to build around you long before you ever crossed his path. That's why you look so good in this moment. That's why your glow is so offensive to them. You're not just winning, you're free. And freedom on someone who knows how to use it is the most dangerous force in any kingdom built on control. Watch them scramble. Watch them spin. Watch them try to salvage their narrative by any means necessary. They'll attempt to diminish your victories. She just got lucky. He had advantages we didn't know about. It's not sustainable. Wait until the real challenges come. They'll move goalposts, change definitions of success, create new metrics that somehow, conveniently, favor their broken prints and discount your accomplishments. Let them. Their gymnastics only prove they're terrified of what you represent, the possibility that everything they believed about hierarchy and destiny and chosen ones was a comfortable lie. The truth is setting them on fire, and you're walking through their burning empire like it's a spring day. Not because you're cruel, not because you're vindictive, but because you've got places to be and empires to build of your own, and you genuinely don't have time to manage their meltdowns over the death of their delusions. Their king is having a breakdown in real time, and the breakdown is revealing what was always there beneath the polish. Someone who never had to develop substance because style was always enough. Someone who never learned to stand alone because there was always a crowd holding him up? Someone who never discovered his own power because borrowed power was always available? You discovered your power in the dark, in the moments when no one was watching and no one would have cared if you quit. You found your strength in the silence after rejection. You built your empire one brick at a time with hands that were shaking from exhaustion but refused to stop building. Every crown you wear, you forged yourself. Every throne you sit on, you constructed from materials you gathered in battles. Their golden child will never have the courage to fight. And now they're seeing the difference between someone who was given a kingdom and someone who conquered themselves first. The psychological torture they're experiencing isn't your doing. It's the natural consequence of worshiping false gods and then having to watch as those gods crumble under the weight of actual divinity. You're not divine, you're just real. But in a world full of holograms and projections and carefully curated illusions, real looks like magic. Real looks like a threat. Real looks like the end of their world. Their world needed to end. It was built on lies that were crushing everyone trapped inside it, including their precious king. He was suffocating under the weight of expectations he could never meet, pretending to be satisfied with a throne that felt more like a prison. You didn't destroy him, you revealed him. And revelation, though painful, is the first step toward anything resembling actual transformation. Will he transform? That's not your concern. Your concern is continuing to evolve at speeds that make their heads spin. Your concern is building legacies that make their achievements look like rough drafts. Your concern is living so fully, so authentically, so powerfully, that the contrast continues to expose every compromise they've made in the name of comfort and approval. They'll hate you for it. They already do, but underneath that hatred is something else. Something they'll never admit, but can't quite hide. Envy. Not of what you have, but of who you are. Envy of your freedom, your authenticity, your refusal to shrink, your ability to stand in your power without apology or explanation. Their golden child has everything they thought mattered, and he's miserable. You have something they can't quantify, and you're thriving. That's the equation that's breaking their brains. The meltdown is accelerating. You can see it in how they talk about you when they think you're not listening. How the story keeps shifting. First, you were lucky. Then you were ruthless. Then you were undeserving. The narrative changes because they can't land on one that makes sense of how their chosen one got so thoroughly eclipsed by someone they'd written off. You weren't written into their story. You wrote your own. And your story is so much more compelling than theirs that people are changing channels mid-episode to see what you're doing next. Their king is watching his audience disappear, not because he's failing harder, but because you're succeeding louder. Not through volume, but through undeniable results. Through a presence that can't be ignored or explained away. Through a mastery that wasn't inherited or gifted, but earned in fires they'll never understand. And you look too damn good doing all of it. That's the final insult. That's the wound that won't heal. You're not suffering. You're not stressed. You're not breaking under the pressure of their judgment or their jealousy or their attempts to diminish you. You're ascending. Every attack bounces off. Every attempt to diminish you somehow adds to your legend. Every hateful comment becomes evidence that you're doing something so right that it threatens people who've never had to question their place in the hierarchy. You're the disruption they never saw coming because they were too busy looking at themselves. Their golden child is crushed, not by you directly, but by the reality you forced everyone to acknowledge. He was never the standard. He was just familiar, and familiarity, when dressed up with enough resources and enough people willing to lie, can sometimes pass for excellence, until actual excellence walks into the room and makes the difference impossible to ignore. You are that difference. The real thing in a gallery of replicas. The genuine article in a marketplace of knockoffs. The earned authority in a room full of inherited titles, and no amount of their spin or their damage control or their desperate attempts to rebuild their king's reputation will change what everyone saw when you and he were in the same space. He shrunk. You expanded. He hesitated. You moved. He looked to his handlers for validation. You looked within and found certainty. That's not a competition anyone can win through strategy or coaching. That's a difference in fundamental architecture. Some people are built to lead. Others are built to look like leaders when everything is controlled. The chaos of real challenge reveals which is which. You've been forged in chaos. He was assembled in calm. When chaos arrived, you thrived and he dissolved, and you looked absolutely devastating doing it. Not in destruction, in creation, in evolution. In the simple, profound act of being so completely yourself that everyone else's performances became obvious. Their meltdown will continue. It has to, because accepting what happened means accepting that everything they believed about merit and worth and destiny was wrong. It means accepting that they wasted years investing in the wrong person while someone extraordinary was right there, unnoticed, because she didn't fit their template, because he didn't play their game, because you refused to seek their approval and built your own approval from a deeper source. Let them melt. Let them rage. Let them spin their stories and rewrite their histories and create alternative facts to soothe their shattered egos. None of it matters. None of it changes what happened. None of it erases the moment when their king faced his obsolescence and everyone saw it happen in real time. You're not responsible for their crisis. You're not obligated to make this easier for them. You're not required to dim your light so their failed investment doesn't look so catastrophically bad. You're free to continue being exactly who you are, which is apparently terrifying enough to cause psychological breakdowns in people who've never had to question their place in the world. That's their problem, not yours. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your evolution, to the vision you're building that has nothing to do with their approval or their king or their kingdoms built on sand. You're constructing something real, something lasting. Something that doesn't require constant maintenance and spin and lies to hold together. They're watching you, all of them, obsessively, compulsively, trying to catch you failing, waiting for the moment when karma catches up and brings you down to a level that makes sense to them, hoping that your success is temporary, your glow is artificial, your power is borrowed. Keep disappointing them, keep rising. Keep evolving. Keep being so authentically powerful that their manufactured narratives crumble just from proximity to your reality. Their golden child got crushed, not by your hand, but by the weight of his own inadequacy when measured against someone real, someone earned, someone who didn't need a team of handlers and cheerleaders and excuse makers to function in the world. You looked too damn good doing it because you weren't doing anything to him. You were simply being yourself at full volume, and he couldn't handle existing in the same space as that much authentic power. That's not cruelty. That's just nature. The strong don't prey on the weak. The strong simply exist at their natural frequency, and everything operating at lower frequencies either adapts or shatters. He shattered. You evolved. They're melting down. And you? You're just getting started. The empire they built around their golden child is collapsing. Let it. It was built on lies and borrowed time anyway. You're building something that doesn't need lies to hold it together. Something that gets stronger every time they test it. Something that transforms their attacks into fuel and their doubts into motivation. You're the nightmare they never prepared for because they thought nightmares only happened to other people. You're the disruption they can't spin or control or diminish. You're the mirror reflecting back the uncomfortable truth they've been avoiding. Chosen ones aren't crowned by committees. They're forged in fires. And you've been burning longer, hotter, and stronger than their golden child ever had to. The meltdown is complete. The illusion is shattered. The emperor has no clothes and everyone knows it. And you're walking away from their collapsed kingdom wearing a crown you made yourself, heading toward horizons they can't even see. You look too damn good doing it, and you're gonna look even better doing what comes next.